Before the machines, before the factories, before the smoke rose into the sky, there was the land. For thousands of years, life moved to the rhythm of the seasons. Most people worked the fields, producing just enough to survive. The world was overwhelmingly rural and manual. But in the mid 18th century, something began to change. Quietly at first, then rapidly, relentlessly. The agricultural revolution swept through the British countryside. New tools and farming techniques, like the seed drill and crop rotation, transformed how food was produced. Yields increased, fewer workers were needed, and a population boom followed. With more mouths to feed and more hands without land, the cities began to swell. This shift laid the foundation for the next great upheaval, the Industrial Revolution. But why Britain? Several forces converged. Britain had vast coal reserves, cheap energy to fuel new machines. It had rivers and ports that connected towns and markets. Its banking system and political stability encouraged investment, and crucially, it had access to raw materials through its growing empire. Innovation flourished in this environment. Tinkerers, inventors, and entrepreneurs transformed ideas into industries. The spinning jenny, the steam engine, the power loom, each one pushing society further away from handwork and toward mechanized mass production. The change wasn't just in tools, it was in mindset. Work moved from the home to the factory. Time became structured by shifts, not sunlight. And for the first time in history, ordinary people began living and working in urban environments defined by industry. The power of steam would reshape the world. At its center was James Watt. Though he didn't invent the steam engine, he perfected it. His innovations made it practical, efficient, and powerful enough to transform industries. Steam engines began replacing human and animal labor in mines and mills. Where once men dug with shovels, machines now did the work, faster, longer, more consistently. Coal became the new fuel of progress, and the demand was endless. Entire regions sprang to life to feed the engines of Britain. Towns grew around coal fields, and the black dust of industry settled on the shoulders of a new working class. Steam-powered factories emerged, massive, loud, and tireless. Machines took over spinning, weaving, pumping, grinding. Work changed forever. The factory bell replaced the sun as a timekeeper. Labor became a matter of hours, not seasons. And then came the rails. Steam locomotives raced across the countryside, pulling goods and people faster than ever imagined. Cities connected, markets expanded, and time itself seemed to shrink. This was more than a mechanical innovation. It was a new way of living. Steam granted humans power over distance, labor, and time. It was the engine of empire, of expansion, and of unimaginable change. Before the factory floor, before the endless rows of machines, there was the spinning wheel, the loom, and the cottage. In rural Britain, families spun thread and wove cloth in their homes. It was slow, skillful work. But demand for textiles, especially cotton, was growing rapidly, fueled by colonial expansion and trade. And then came the machines. The spinning jenny allowed a single worker to spin multiple threads at once. The water frame harnessed river power to do the same work faster and more reliably. Then the power loom arrived, bringing mechanization to weaving. Cottage industries faded, replaced by massive textile factories. Production soared, prices dropped, cloth became a commodity, not a craft. The shift was seismic. Cotton from plantations flowed into British ports. Mills ran day and night. Cities like Manchester boomed into industrial giants, so fast they were dubbed Cottonopolis. But there was a cost. Factory work was grueling, child labor was widespread, conditions were harsh, the air thick with lint, the hours long and punishing. Artisans, once respected and independent, found themselves outpaced by machines, their trades diminished. The textile boom was not just about technology. It was about power, speed, and profit. It marked a new chapter in human labor, one driven not by hands but by machines. At the heart of the Industrial Revolution was more than steam. It was metal, iron, and steel that built the modern world. In the early days, iron was essential for tools, machines, and infrastructure. But traditional methods of iron production were slow and limited. Everything changed with the development of coke smelted iron and later the Bessemer process, a revolutionary method to mass produce steel cheaply and efficiently. Steel became the skeleton of progress. Bridges, railways, ships, and buildings rose faster and stronger than ever before. The skyline of the industrial age was shaped by metal. Mechanization accelerated alongside this metallurgical boom. Where hands once crafted, machines now stamped, cut, and forged with precision. Skilled laborers saw their trades transformed or replaced by automated processes. The factory became a symbol not only of productivity but of displacement. Iron and steel weren't just materials, they were metaphors for the time, strong, unyielding, reshaping the landscape and the lives within it. The clang of metal, once rare, now echoed through cities and valleys. In the late 1700s, narrow waterways connected coal mines, factories, and markets. Barges moved heavy goods slowly but efficiently, helping lower costs and expand reach. Cities like Birmingham thrived because of these liquid highways, but the canal age was just the beginning. In the early 19th century, steam-powered locomotives emerged and everything changed. The railway boom was explosive. Tracks spread like roots from industrial centers, connecting cities, ports, and production hubs at unprecedented speed. Goods that once took days to transport now moved in hours. Perishable products reached distant markets. People, too, became mobile, commuting between rural homes and urban factories. Towns transformed, small villages along the rail lines grew into bustling centers of commerce and labor. Urbanization surged, migration accelerated. Railroads weren't just about convenience, they were instruments of economic power. They dictated where factories were built, where jobs appeared, and how communities evolved. The speed, reach, and impact of this transportation revolution laid the groundwork for the modern world. As factories rose and machines multiplied, cities swelled. Manchester, Birmingham, and others transformed from sleepy towns into dense industrial centers. But behind the brick facades and chimneys lay a darker truth. Workers crowded into slums, entire families packed into single damp rooms. Clean water was rare, sanitation worse, disease spread quickly, cholera, typhoid, tuberculosis, fed by poverty and pollution. Inside the factories, conditions were brutal. Children as young as 6 worked the looms and coal pits. Their small hands fit into machines and too often were lost to them. But these grim realities sparked resistance. Workers began to organize. Early labor movements, trade unions, and reformers demanded change. Chartists petitioned for rights. Journalists exposed horrors. Legislators slowly responded. The dark side of progress was not invisible. It was fought, mourned, and eventually reformed. This chapter of the revolution reminds us every innovation must be measured not only in profit but in its impact on human lives. And behind every glowing factory window, there is a story of sacrifice and resilience. While smokestacks climbed and machines roared, another revolution unfolded quietly in laboratories, notebooks, and the minds of innovators. The Industrial Revolution wasn't just built on coal and steel, it was fueled by science. Chemists discovered new materials and processes. Bleaching powders transformed the textile industry. Synthetic dyes brought color to fashion and industry. Innovations in metallurgy refined steel and other alloys, making construction and machinery more reliable. Medicine, too, began to evolve. The microscope revealed unseen worlds. Germ theory emerged, guiding better hygiene and reducing disease. Anesthetics changed surgery forever, while vaccination gained broader acceptance. Communications leapt forward. The telegraph made information travel faster than ever. A coded pulse of electricity, dots and dashes, began to link distant cities and countries. Electricity itself emerged as a force of the future. From early experiments with batteries and currents to the first practical light bulbs, inventors laid the groundwork for a new industrial age powered not by steam but by sparks. Science and innovation weren't just side effects of industry, they were its engine. A feedback loop of discovery, invention, and application propelled societies forward. This was the dawn of modernity, an age where knowledge didn't just explain the world, it reshaped it. The Industrial Revolution began in Britain, but it didn't stay there. By the mid 19th century, its waves had spread across Europe, the Americas, and beyond. Steam engines rumbled through France and Germany. Textile mills rose in the United States. Japan embraced industrialization with remarkable speed during the Meiji Restoration. The world was changing fast. Industrialization transformed economies into engines of mass production and global trade. Nations with factories and railroads grew rich and powerful. Those without struggled to keep up or became targets of imperial ambitions. This new age gave birth to ideologies. Capitalism flourished, but so did socialism, as workers demanded fairer treatment. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels wrote of class struggle in the shadow of factories. Empires expanded, powered by industrial might. Resources were extracted from colonies to feed European industries, deepening global inequalities. Yet the revolution also brought progress. Life expectancy slowly rose, education spread, technological advancement lifted many out of poverty. Today, we still live in the legacy of that transformation. Our cities, economies, technologies, even our climate are shaped by what began in coal-fired engines and steam-powered looms. The Industrial Revolution was not just a chapter in history, it was the foundation of the modern world.